Westminster issues. We're getting on with fixing the mess, fixing the foundations, that £22 billion black hole. She talks about immigration, record levels of immigration under the previous government, nearly 1 million, and she was the cheerleader.
Political showdowns are nothing new, but what happens when a routine debate suddenly turns into a no-holds-barred confrontation? That's exactly what viewers witnessed when Kemi Badenoch unleashed a surprise offensive against Keir Starmer. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video, and in the next few minutes, you'll see how this unexpected clash unfolded, the strategies both politicians employed, and the surprising outcome that left many questioning their assumptions about British politics.
The leadership promises. He's dropped the 5 missions he said would define his government. He's ditched his pledge to make Britain the fastest growing economy.
Keir Starmer strode into the House of Commons for Prime Minister's questions, exuding his usual air of confidence. The leader of the opposition was ready for another round of verbal sparring, expecting to put the government on the back foot.
No, Mr. Speaker, she says she's not talking about immigration. I'm not surprised.
Little did he know, Kemi Badenoch had other plans. As the session kicked off, Badenoch launched a surprise attack that caught everyone off guard. She honed in on Starmer's past stance on immigration, a topic that's been a political hot potato for years.
Mr. Speaker, as we found out last week, nearly 1 million net migration numbers because of the Tory open borders policy.
But this wasn't just about policy disagreements. Badenoch had come armed with specific allegations that struck at the heart of Starmer's judgment and character. The business secretary dropped a bombshell, accusing Starmer of signing letters that supported leniency for foreign criminals. She claimed these weren't just any offenders, but included rapists and murderers. The chamber fell silent as Badenoch's words hung in the air, their weight palpable. To drive her point home, Badenoch cited a specific case that sent shockwaves through the room. She mentioned Ernesto Elliott, a man with 17 prior convictions, including knife crimes. According to Badenoch, after his deportation was blocked, Elliott went on to murder someone. The implication was clear. Starmer's past actions had potentially led to a tragic loss of life.
With the Westminster issues, we're getting on with fixing the mess, fixing the foundations, that £22 billion black hole.
Social media erupted as the confrontation unfolded. Some praised Badenoch's confrontational style, seeing it as a necessary challenge to the opposition. Others viewed it as a desperate attempt to deflect from the government's own failings. The media, sensing the gravity of the moment, framed it as a significant political clash that could have far-reaching consequences.
To do is make the country more conservative. And by that I mean, policies that will help deliver better growth.
As all eyes turned to Starmer, the tension in the chamber was palpable. How would he respond to these serious allegations? Would he be able to defend his past actions? Or would Badenoch's attack leave him floundering? Initially, Starmer appeared defensive. He seemed caught off guard by the specificity and severity of the accusations. As he gathered his thoughts, it was clear that this was not the routine PMQs he had anticipated, but there was a glimmer in his eye, a subtle shift in his posture that suggested he wasn't about to take this lying down.
He is making things worse. Everyone is unhappy. Isn't it a good thing that the Chancellor is an expert at customer complaints?
As Starmer began to formulate his response, there was a sense that the dynamics of the debate were about to shift. The former prosecutor, known for his forensic questioning style, was preparing to turn the tables. The question on everyone's mind was, could Starmer effectively counter Badenoch's allegations and regain control of the narrative? But just when it seemed Starmer was on the ropes, he pulled out an unexpected weapon from his arsenal. How could the Conservative Party's own record become their Achilles heel? As the chamber held its breath, Starmer's demeanor shifted. The defensive posture melted away, replaced by a steely resolve. He wasn't just going to weather Badenoch's storm, he was about to unleash one of his own.
Having a Conservative government is the best way to do that. And I think that right now, I have the best agenda to lead my party and to get us. There's a petition out there, 2 million people asking him to go. He's the one who doesn't know.
Starmer pivoted, turning the spotlight onto the Conservative government's immigration record. It was a bold move, considering the gravity of Badenoch's accusations, but Starmer, ever the skilled prosecutor, knew that sometimes the best offense is a good offense. He launched into a scathing critique, describing the Tories' approach as a one-nation experiment in open borders. The phrase hung in the air, dripping with irony. Here was the leader of the Labour Party, often criticized for being too soft on immigration, accusing the Conservatives of throwing open the gates. But Starmer wasn't relying on rhetoric alone. He came armed with cold, hard facts. The opposition leader dropped a bombshell statistic. Net migration had reached a staggering 728,000 for the year to June 2024. It was a figure that sent ripples through the chamber.
She talks about immigration, record levels of immigration under the previous government, nearly 1 million and she was the cheerleader.
How could a party that had long promised to reduce immigration preside over such a dramatic increase? Starmer's strategy was clear. By focusing on the Conservatives' record, he was attempting to neutralize Badenoch's attack and shift the narrative. It was a masterclass in political jujitsu, using the government's own weight against them. As Starmer continued his counteroffensive, the mood in the chamber began to shift. MPs on both sides seemed caught off guard by this sudden reversal. Badenoch, who had been so forceful in her initial attack, now appeared to be on the back foot.
The previous Home Secretary for the work was done. She championed it, she advocated it. Record numbers of immigration.
The impact of Starmer's counterattack was immediate and palpable. Social media exploded with commentary as political pundits rushed to analyze this unexpected turn of events. What had started as a potential disaster for Starmer was quickly turning into a PR nightmare for the Conservatives. As the dust settled on this fierce exchange, it became clear that the implications would extend far beyond this single debate. Both Labour and the Conservatives would need to reassess their strategies on immigration, a topic that had once again proven to be a political minefield. The question now was, who would emerge as the victor in the court of public opinion, and how would this clash shape the ongoing debate over one of Britain's most contentious issues?
Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking about migration, I'm asking about the former Transport Secretary.
The showdown between Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch was a roller coaster of political theater. What started as a surprise attack on Starmer's past quickly transformed into a scathing critique of Conservative immigration policies. This unexpected turn of events left both sides scrambling to control the narrative. The debate's aftermath could reshape the immigration discourse in British politics. Starmer's counterattack, highlighting record-high migration figures under Conservative rule, may force the government to reassess its approach. Meanwhile, Labour might need to clarify its stance on border control and foreign criminals to counter future accusations.
Prime Minister talks about immigration. I think it's probably a good time to remind him that he was the one writing letters asking us not to deport foreign criminals.
As the dust settles, one question lingers. Will this confrontation lead to more substantive policy debates, or is it just another example of political point scoring? The answer may well determine the future of British political discourse and the public's trust in their elected officials.